Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm Lakshmi from Sneha Society for Counseling. And on behalf of all of us at Sneha, I would like to extend a very, very warm welcome to each one of you for participating in this webinar. Since many of you have been attending our webinars quite regularly, I'd like to keep my introduction to Sneha itself very brief. Sneha Society for Counseling is a not-for-profit, non-religious, and non-political organization with a vision to have a society where people can be listened to when in distress. Sneha Society for Counseling was formed in the year 2004 under the Karnataka Registrations Act. We provide a safe and non-threatening atmosphere to all sections of society where people with any form of emotional distress can get support that is confidential, non-judgmental, and non-prescriptive. Clients come to us with issues related to relationship between couples, parents, and children, or anxiety, abuse, grief, anger, low confidence, and suicidal thoughts, and much more. Our team of about 25 volunteers are very well trained as lay counselors, with empathy being the main foundation as part of their support for the support. We offer both in-person counseling and telecounseling services, and all our services are free. We operate out of 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐡𝐨𝐩 School in Malleshwaram, and we are available 5 days a week between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. For more details, you can reach out to us on our helplines, which is right now displayed on the screen. Yeah. Coming to our webinar for today, it's a very, very interesting topic. Our objective is to help young couples, young adults in a couple relationship to make informed choices before committing to a marriage. So if you look at the scenario today, I'm sure all of us will agree that over the last decade, the institution of marriage and in general relationships between couples has undergone a lot of churn. What was seemingly the parents' job of finding a suitable life partner for their son or daughter has now been taken over entirely by the individuals in the relationship. While that is definitely a progressive step, we find that many times many key aspects needed for a compatible long-term relationship have been overlooked. The equation between the two partners and the dynamics in the relationship has also changed drastically over the years. In short, my personal opinion, I think we have become a very confused lot when it comes to marriage and choosing a partner. That is where premarital counseling can play an important role in making the two individuals understand the other person in situations that will be encountered in future. Premarital counseling can help in setting realistic expectations and managing them, building trust and understanding, improving communication, resolving conflicts in a healthy manner, and strengthening emotional connection. Beyond all these, there are some aspects that can be understood by sheer observation, for which we have invited a distinguished speaker today to help us understand these topics. Please do welcome uh, Mr. Sridhar Mandyam. I hope you're all able to see him. Yeah. Okay. So welcome, sir. For all of you, those who don't know Sridhar Mandyam already, his experience spans diverse areas like finance and banking, retail, book publishing, and online education. But his real calling was psychology. He has trained himself in counseling psychology from Banjara Academy and 𝐬𝐤. He's conducted many workshops in various organizations, sharing his skills and passion for counseling topics. Currently, he's a founder director of Darwin Psychology Center that offers training in different domains of psychology. And many of us Sneha volunteers are uh, students of his sessions. He's also an active counselor. He's a great friend of Sneha, and what we find unique about him is simplifying complex concepts and articulating it that is relatable for everyone. I request 𝐸𝐴 to share his experience and expertise in the field to help our audience make better and informed partner choices. We have compiled the questions that many of you had posted during the registration, which will be most of it would get covered as part of his session. And during the session, if you have any more questions, please post them on the chat box and we will address it towards the end and based on the time. Once again, let's welcome 𝐶𝐸𝐬. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to this session on understanding premarital counseling part of it. Lakshmi actually summarized my whole session right in the beginning by noting all the highlights that we're going to talk about. So thanks a lot to Lakshmi, Krishna, and members of Sneha Counseling for inviting me for this session. My association with Sneha goes long time back. We have done so many programs together, and like Lakshmi mentioned, many of the volunteers at Sneha have done courses in our center. Grief counseling, student counseling, marriage counseling, career counseling. Many of those courses have been done by a lot of people here. So thanks to Sneha for inviting me for this. I would really love it if I can have more of you on the video. It's really motivating to address people when I see them rather than just black boxes. So if you can switch on the videos, that will be really great. So thanks for that. So today we are looking at premarital counseling. And let me just lay out what I'm going to look at this. Firstly, I'm going to take you through why do we need premarital counseling, right? Why do we need premarital counseling in today's world, which Lakshmi mentioned some of the points. So I'm just going to highlight those points again. So why do we need premarital counseling? And second thing that I'm going to talk to you about is what is the general way people go about measuring compatibility, right? What is the if I can say one way of looking at compatibility now, how do normally people go about measuring compatibility for the couple involved? And after I finish those two parts, then I'm going to take you deeper dive into where I really like to bring my experience into understanding that to me, the most critical part in a marriage counseling or in a premarital counseling is how do you understand the other person? Right? Everything else is superficial. How do you understand the other person at a deeper level, and how do you learn to accept what you see? That is what my focus is going to be on this session, that how do you really understand another person if you want to build a harmonious relationship with them? And while we do talk about it as a premarital counseling part of it, what I want to also emphasize is that whatever we're going to talk today can be applied to existing marriages. Right? Can be applied to existing marriages, can be applied to existing relationships, not only marriages. Even with, if you can learn how to understand another person, you can improve your relationships with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, with your children, right? So essentially, it is about relationship counseling. On the one hand, we can call it as premarital counseling because we're going to emphasize on a good amount of premarital part. But if you understand the core idea of today's session, you can apply it to any relationship. Right. So having said that, so let me start off by sharing my screen. And since we have a larger group of people today, if anybody wants to have a question or wants to share something, I will make a pause in between my presentation and then we'll take some questions in between. Or if somebody wants to share their experience, we'll do that in between the sessions. So you can raise your hand and we can do that. So can you see my screen? Is it visible? My screen is visible?
Yes, we can see it.
Right. So we are looking at premarital counseling. We are looking at what are the patterns, what are the problems, and what are the possibilities. That's what we're going to take a look at. Right. So why is it needed today? When you look back at how the marriage scenario has evolved over the years, you really wonder, why do we need premarital counseling? I have my mom at my home. She is 84 years old. So I was mentioning to her that, today I have a workshop, and she was curious, what is the topic, she said. I said, I'm doing premarital counseling. She said, what does it mean? I said, it is about people who want to get married, to help them to understand. She said, why do you think we need it? We never needed it at our times and all. Right? So I said, yeah, it is not your time. The world has changed a lot and it is needed today's world. So when we say, why is it needed in today's world? Here are some of the reasons that I can think of. It's a collapse of the traditional network. Like Lakshmi mentioned in the beginning that, earlier it was always the parents' job to find a match for their children. And there was a lot of traditional setup available to us. I'm talking not very long time back. I'm not talking of hundreds of years back. I'm just talking of even 30 years back. Right? I'm talking of 30 to 40 years back when somebody wanted to get married. Most of the marriages were still arranged marriages. Right? Even today, perhaps in the rural areas, it's still an arranged marriage. But when we are looking at the urban scenario where we are staying in places like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Bombay and all, the traditional network has collapsed. Right? There's no longer the traditional network that available to us. And today, if somebody, let us say, comes to me, let us say one of my niece and nephew comes to me and says that, I want to get married. Can you help me how to get married? I have no clue where to go in my own traditional network. Right? Earlier, people used to marry within communities. Right? Today, that is no longer the case. So even that support that was there, that, you want to discuss that I want to get to marry this person, I want to talk to somebody, that network itself is missing for you. Your family sizes have shrunk and the elders in your family are dispersed. So you really don't have the traditional network available to you. And second thing is again a radical shift in expectations from people. When we look at earlier times, why did he get married? The marriage was, okay, he's going to earn, I'm going to run the family. That's it. That was the expectation. The expectations were extremely, extremely realistic and extremely low. Right? Today, the expectations are extremely high for everybody. And that's, I wouldn't say that is wrong or right, but that has made a lot of difference to, do we need premarital counseling? Do we need to temper down expectations from people around us? If they're going into a marriage with a very high expectations with rose-tinted glasses, there's going to be disaster coming around. So how do we do this part of it? So this is another reason why radical shift in expectations. And thirdly, the meaning of marriage itself has changed so much. Today, when somebody says, why should I get married? We really don't have good answers for that. Right? Today, why should I get married? Earlier, if somebody say, oh, if you get married, then you have a stable partner. I can have a stable partner even with a living relationship. So why should I get married? No, if you get married, then you have a stable sexual partner. I can have a lot of sex even without getting married. So why should I get married? No, if you get married, then you can raise a family and children. I can raise a family even without that. I can go and adopt children, or I can go and have my own babies now without doing it. I can freeze my eggs. I can always marry later. Right? Today, even if you tell people that, no, there's a window for you to get married and you have to raise a family within that. No, there's no window like that. Today, I can freeze my eggs, and whenever I want to get married, I can get married and have a baby. So look at it. The entire meaning of marriage has changed. Right? Earlier, again, another big change that has come about in the last 40 years is the empowerment of women. Empowerment of women has again changed the role of marriage and marriage counseling. Right? Earlier, it was always the men who went out and earned and the women who ran the family. The 1980s changed the scenario as a big change when women began to get educated and women began to go out and earn. And this is where, when we look at today's world, when Lakshmi said today, most of them people are choosing their own partners, it is because there's an opportunity to choose your own partner. Earlier, there was no such opportunity. Where was the opportunity 50 years back not to choose your own partner? Because today, if you look at it, people fall in love, if I can say, with people whom you're working. Right? Most of the things happen there. You're working or in a college atmosphere where you kind of get to know somebody, you like them, and that's how you bridge a relationship. So today, the opportunity to find your own partners have increased. So as a result, the expectations have dynamically increased. Right? So today, women need not get married because they need somebody to provide for them. That era is over. Right? The woman can provide for herself. She can go and earn. She can earn as much as a man does. So that is a changed role in the marriage. So these are the reasons why we look at marriage counseling is essential today because of all these things. So I come to the main part of here of compatibility. How do we understand compatibility itself? So when you look at most of the time, the idea of compatibility drastically reduces to what do we like about the other person, right? And somebody comes to me after a first meeting and says, oh, I think I like this person a lot. I said, what makes you like this person a lot? He and I have the same thing, we like the same Netflix videos. I said, excellent, Netflix videos are wonderful to see. In a marriage, you're going to be there 24/7. How long are you going to sit and watch Netflix videos? We like the same kind of food. Wonderful. You like the same kind of food. How long will you eat the same kind of food? Right? His colors and my colors, we have the same aesthetic sense. Wonderful. Right? So when you look at compatibility, how people think whom they should choose or whom they should marry, it becomes so superficial of, asking these kind of questions for the partners. Now, what's your favorite color? What movies do you like? What food do you like? Which are your favorite places to travel? Right? All these are nice to know, but totally unimportant. Right? It's like the what example can I give? It's like a KBC show, right? You go to a Kaun Banega Karodpati show and they ask you those questions, and oh, what is the capital of Italy? And somebody answers, oh, this is the capital of Italy. Wonderful, such wonderful knowledge he has. What is the currency of China? He answers that. So 4 such questions you answer, and you begin thinking, what a brilliant boy, he knows so much. Does he really know so much? Right? This is what we call as trivia, right? You can be a master of trivia and know nothing about any topic, right? It's good as an entertainment part, it's good to know. But when we come to marriages, marriages are not built on knowing trivia about the other person, right? What color he likes, what food he likes, what are his choices. Oh, we are very compatible because of all these things. No, you're not compatible because you share the same taste. People have not parted from relationships because they have the same taste. You can have the same taste. You can have the same like choices of food, coloring, clothing, design, everything. Do you part because you have the same taste? Not at all true, right? So we need to go deeper into what does it mean to be compatible and not confine ourselves to these trivia questions of what's your favorite 10 favorite things of you, right? You write 10 favorite things, you write 10 favorite things, 5 of your favorite things are matched, you go get married. Doesn't work, right? So we have to go deeper into understanding what does it mean to get to know a person. So when we say go deeper, again, take a look at this. Relationships are not torn apart by the presence or lack of positives, but they are torn apart by the presence of negatives. Relationships are not torn apart by the presence or lack of positives. You can even lack the positive, right? There are many marriages today I know which are still working. There's nothing greatly positive in it, but there is nothing negative in it. As long as there's nothing negative in a marriage, it can still work even if you do not share the same choices of anything. Does it make sense? Right? I'll give you another analogy to understand what I mean by lack of positives or presence of negatives. We do a lot of parent counseling, right? Parents come and say, oh, my child is like this, my child is like this. I don't know if I'm raising my child correctly, am I doing all these things? I'm taking him to a swimming class, I'm taking him to this, I want to expose him to everything. So am I doing the right parenting? My answer to that is don't expend so much of energy into parenting, right? Parenting is extremely simple as long as you don't do the negative things. You don't have to do great number of positive things to be a fantastic parent. You are a fantastic parent if you don't do the negative things. Like what? Abuse your child, physically abuse them, emotionally abuse them, right? Humiliate them in front of others, put them down constantly, berate them, tell them that they are no good for anything, constantly attack their self-esteem. If you're doing all this, your parenting is going to be turning out to be bad choice. But if you're doing none of that, if you're not doing abusing your child, if you're just being there to help them, you do what you want, I'll be there to guide you, whatever you want. You don't have to be taking your children from a dance class to a Zumba class to a swimming coach to a tennis coach. You don't have to be an event manager for your children to be a good parent. You just don't have to do the negatives. It makes it so simple. You don't have to spend so much of energy. Look at all the people who come into counseling and talk about how their parenting has affected them. Has ever anybody come to you and said that, no, my parenting got really screwed up because my dad didn't take me to swimming class? Or my mom said, no, you don't go for dance, you go for music. She said that's why my whole life is ruined. Does anybody come and talk of lack of positives in their parenting? Nobody does. They only talk of negatives. My dad abused me. My parents neglected me. My parents forced a choice on me. I didn't want to do engineering, but my dad said, no, you got to be an engineer because everybody in the family is an engineer. And that really ruined my life because I could not complete my engineering. I had to drop out of the thing. It affected my self-esteem. My dad was really horrible because he forced me into doing something that I don't like. This is what you will hear in counseling, right? This is what people come to talk about, the negative things that the parents did. So the same thing applies in a relationship when we're looking at a marriage. A marriage does not fall apart because of lack of positives. A marriage falls apart because of presence of negatives, right? So let's take a look at it. When we say this friction factors in a relationship, these are the things that we need to talk about, right? I don't care if you don't talk about, what are all the common things you share, but do talk about the friction factors in a relationship. When we look at marriage counseling, I would rather be a bad cop than a good cop, right? We have this bad cop and good cop roles, isn't it? So I would rather be a bad cop and say, what are the things that can go wrong? That's your focus on the relationship, that you're trying to build something into a commitment. So what's your focus? Your focus should be on what things can go wrong. So can we prevent those things from going wrong? So here are some of the friction factors that come up. Freedom and independence. Everybody today loves freedom. They want independence to be doing their own things too. So the one thing that really comes up when we look at how marriages fall apart is a person feeling, I am not free in this marriage. I am being controlled in this relationship. I do not have the independence. I do not have financial independence. He controls all the money and I feel miserable about it, right? So if he is controlling the money part of it, he is giving you, I'll give you money and you have to tell me how much you spend for everything. That is not freedom. That's not independence, right? So how much of freedom and independence do you need? I'm not saying that everybody needs. Some people are very happy to kind of abandon themselves to others. I don't want to think about money. If he's going to think of money, fine. So are you willing to trust him on that? Are you willing to trust him that these are the things he can take care of? Perfectly all right. Right? Everybody does not have to do everything. But it's important to know that you will not resent lack of freedom in certain areas of your life in this relationship. So what are the areas in your relationship in which you will not have freedom? Are you okay with that? Right? So this is what I mean by understanding what exactly is your first friction factor. And then relationships beyond the two. In India, we do not marry one other person. We marry a family. Right? And if you look at, again, where marriages fall apart, where there's a lot of disharmony between the couple, it is not necessarily just between the couple. It is always the third party which comes in, which creates a lot of mess for the couple. Right? Third party not intentionally creating mess, but it is the value system that comes up. One person wants to stay with their parents. The other person doesn't want to stay with their parents. Or the parents are constantly interfering in the marriage. The siblings are interfering in the marriage. Somebody else is being allowed to interfere in the marriage. So one of the friction factors that I have noticed so many times is that if the couple are allowed to stay on their own, they will break their heads, they will hurt each other, but they'll still get along now after some time. It's always the third party that, you're sandwiched between your spouse and your parents. Your parents are telling you something, and then your spouse is telling you something, and you are like, do I go to my parents' side? Do I go to my spouse side? The moment you go to your spouse side, then your parents will hear from them. marriage aito, you're all gone into your thing. You're going to listen to her only. You're going to listen to him only. Why do we need you? Right? Or you go into your parents' side, support your parents' side, then you're hearing it from your spouse. Why did you get married? You should have married your parents only, no? Right? You don't need me. Why did you get married to me? Your parents are there, right? You're so attached to them. So you're always torn between this. Huge friction factor comes in when, and India especially, we are a family-oriented culture. We're not an individual-oriented culture like the Western cultures, right? We're still a family-oriented culture. So family still matters to us. How we look after our parents still matters to us. So this is going to be a huge friction factor when it comes to relationships beyond the two. So can they sit and sort this out? What are we going to do? Are we going to support parents? Are we going to kind of keep them separate? Or is just you and me living alone? Because this is something that I want people to become aware of, because this is going to be a huge factor. Or let us say even somebody says that, we will get married, but my parents are going to stay with me. I mean, again, let me put it in the Indian tradition. In the Indian tradition, it is the boy's parents who live with, it's the boy's parents with whom the couples generally live with. Right? Even in India today, the parents don't prefer to live with the girl's parents. They prefer to live with the boy's side parents, right? That is the general tradition. So let us say the boy says that, I want us to live with my parents. And the girl says, no, I don't like that. I want us to have our own. How are you going to sort this out? How are you going to sort this out? How are you going to negotiate around this and sort it out? Right? So you need to think through this. Or let us say the girl says, I will start by living with your parents. But if it doesn't work out, you should be willing to separate and live on our own. Are you okay with that? Right? You negotiate those terms that, I don't mind. I also like your parents to stay with us. They have been very nice to me in the whatever the engagement period or the courtship period. So I like your parents. We would like to stay together. But in case it doesn't work, are you okay to move out? If the other person says, no matter what, I will not move out of my parents' house, right? You have got trouble brewing right in the beginning. So your red flag is up. Or do I want to deal with this? Do I not want to deal with this? Right? If your thing says that, no, it's all right, whatever happens, I also want the elders to stay with me because I like the elders staying with me. I also want to look after the elders. Perfectly fine. Right? Go with open eyes. Because most of the problems in the marriages come up right in the beginning. Even in the courtship, the marriages problems are known, but we tend to ignore them. Right? So the third party is coming into the marriage. This is a friction factor. Financial mindset. Financial mindset is again a huge thing. Financial freedom is the gateway to all other freedom. Right? If there is no financial freedom, there is no other freedom. You can forget about it. Right? So is there a financial freedom for you in this marriage? If you are earning, great. Are you going to hold on to the job? Or are you somebody says, no, I don't want to hold on to the job. After a marriage, I'm going to quit. He or she, I mean, most of the time it is he, rarely it is she, that he is going to look after the whole thing. I'm going to run the family. Are you okay with that? I mean, there's nothing like everybody has to earn, right? There are many people who says, I'm just working because I've got nothing else to do. But once I get married, I don't want to work because I don't like to go out into the offices and work. Great. If your mindset is that, then you can get into that. But if your mindset is no matter what happens, I will never give up my job, then is the other person okay with that? Because financial things become very important. And who earns more than whom? Again, friction factor, right? Let us say in the beginning that the person says that, the girl is earning less than the boy. Would the boy be okay if the girl someday suddenly gets a promotion and she starts earning more than him? Or will his ego blow up? How can I earn less than my wife? Right? So you give up the job, you don't take this. What are you going to do? And is your job something that makes you travel? That's going to be another thing, right? Is your job a transferable job? If you're going to be a transferable job, have you thought out today, wonderful, you're both living in the same city and you're looking at it, but tomorrow if one of you gets transferred by a company, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay in the same city or are you going to have a distance relationship? Are you okay with that? Right? Money factor plays a huge role in relationships. Never ever forget that. Don't underestimate the power of money in the relationship. right? Everybody likes to have that freedom. And even if the person says that, I'm okay with my husband earning and giving me some money to run the home, fine. But as long as it is not used to point and throw you down all the time. Oh, you are not earning. You are not earning. I'm the one who is earning, right? You're just sitting at home and enjoying yourself. These barbs, you have heard it 1,000 times, right? I'm sure all of you have heard in your counseling sometime or the other that, you're just living off, you're freeloader, you're doing this. I am the one who is earning the money. You're doing nothing. And it really messes up a person's life because he or she thinks I also could have earned this. I gave up this to raise a family. And today you're throwing this at me that I'm not good enough or I'm not good enough because I don't earn. Right? It's going to be a huge factor, friction factor in marriages, unless this is sorted out right in the beginning. And then sexual preferences, right? Sexual preferences can come in various ways. One person thinks that marriage is fine. Sex is only for procreation. Sex is only for procreation. As long as you have children, then sex is over. The other person doesn't believe that. He or she believes that, it doesn't mean just because you have kids, sex is over. I mean, all you wanted me is a baby producing machine. Is that all what you wanted? Right? So many times. I mean, I'm saying it from the both ends. It can be a man's view. It can be a woman's view. Don't think it's only going to be a woman's view. No. Right? Today, even women look at sex and saying, no, I also want the pleasure. Why can't I have this in a legitimate relationship? So this things becomes very important of how you talk about this, each of your preferences, each of what you like, what you don't like, right? It's an important area where friction can come in. And then children versus no kids. Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? Oh, my husband is saying he doesn't want kids, but let me get married. I will convince him. Not happening. Right? You're marrying hope, you're not marrying reality. Right? Don't marry hope. Marry reality. Right? You can't convince your husband to have kids. You can't convince your wife if she says, no, I don't want to have kids. I just want to be a career woman. Both of us will enjoy our life. If you're not on the same plane, if one of you thinks you should be having the kids and the other person says you can't be having the kids, can you convince the other person later? Possible, but don't bet on it. Right? It's going to be a huge friction factor between you and your spouse. And then parenting styles, of course. If you decide that, yes, both of us will have kids, what kind of parenting style would you be adopting? I mean, the styles can still be different, but at least the parenting vision should be common. Do you have the same vision for your kids? Or do you have a different vision? If you have different vision, your parenting style no longer matters. But at least if you have the same vision for your kids, then parenting style can still be different. The husband can be the good cop and the wife can be a bad cop, but still it will work. But if the vision itself is different, there's going to be a lot of friction there. Lifestyle and personality issues. I'll talk more deeply about this as we go along. But lifestyle and personality issues matter a lot to people. Right? When I say lifestyle, it means what adds value in my life. If one other person says being with my friends adds a lot of value in my life, that's going to continue even after marriage. Right? He or she feels, what's the point if I don't go out and meet my own friends? I mean, I have cultivated friends so much, and I'm having a relationship with you in a marriage, but it doesn't mean that, I give up all my friends because it adds a lot of value to me. Right? Looking after my old age parents adds a lot of value to me. This is an important value to me that I want to look after my parents. Right? You can't stop me from looking after my parents. So lifestyle issues and personality issues will dig deeper into it, but it does matter a lot in marriages. These are the friction factors that we can look at, right? So just let me pause here. Any thoughts anybody wants to share or say? You can just raise your hand and I'll call you out. Nothing so far? Yes, Siddharth.
There can be question that the wife may say that I want to stay with my parents and take care because now the parents have single child.
Yeah.
So that will be a issue also.
Absolutely, it will be an issue. See, today when you look at it, most of the people come with just one sibling. Today's generation I'm talking of. Right? Today's generation, they come with one sibling or no sibling at all. So today we can't say that, it is the job of the boy in the family to take care of his parents any longer. Right? So if the girl says, I also want to look after my parents, sort it out. Right? How are you going to do that? Right? Are you all going to stay in the same complex, two different flats, and you're going to arrange for everything together, but you're going to have your own unit? Fair enough. But are you going to say, no, my in-laws can stay with me, but my parents are going to stay separately. I'm going to provide for them. I'm going to be looking after them. Fair enough. Or are you saying that, all of us can live together because a very harmonious family, hum saath aath hai, whatever you want to see, saath aath hai, is that a way you want to look at it? Perfectly valid. Let's so sort it out, whatever it is. If the other person is a single child or she is only the second child of the family, she or he has got an equal right to look after his or her own parents. Right? We cannot ignore that anymore. Yes, Anuradha.
Good morning, sir.
Hi.
Sir, sometimes the situation happens that during the courtship or, before marriage, when we do such type of counseling, they say that we are okay with this. Like what you said about the financial mindset. The boy
Yeah.
says that it's completely fine if the girl will get some promotion or something like that. But the moment they get married, the complete scenario changes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Totally agree with it. On one hand, many promises that are agreed to before marriages do get broken in the marriage. Right? No, that is the risk
Yeah.
that everybody is taking. Right? That is the risk that everybody is taking. Marriage is always a risky proposition, no doubt about it. Right? So that's the risk you're taking, but you're going there at least with an open thing that, I discuss this, you discuss this. Now we are discussing this. How do you want to handle this? It can still be handled. I'm not saying just because I agreed to something before and now the situation has changed, oh, we part because of this. No, we can still work it out in some way if the couple is mature. Right? How do we work it out? That is something we can help the couple to work it out by saying, how do we address each other's concerns? Right? Rather than giving solutions. Yeah. Ranjita?
Yeah, this reminds me of this book, 101 Things to Ask Before You Get Engaged by Norman Wright. So I was just thinking when we think so much for our mehendi and dress and costume, so maybe if we can ask our non-negotiables and all these values, belief system, I think that would be great. Marriage, I mean, to start with. Of course, people change, we transform, there might be, but at least you know how to navigate.
Absolutely.
Wonderful session.
Absolutely. Basically, when we look at it today, when parents want to get involved in the children's marriage, they don't get involved in the marriage, they get involved in the wedding. Right? Parents are very happy to get involved in the wedding. You tell me whom you want to marry, you tell me, and then you come and tell me when you want it done, where you want it done, how you want it done, what kind of person he is, whether he's right and wrong for you. I'll keep my thing safe. Right? I don't want to say this guy is good for you, this girl is good for you. No, parents also don't want to get their hands burned. Right? I mean, now they'll have to start going for therapy, isn't it? Children starting accusing them of like this. So they don't want to do that. So in a way, if when you look at it, no, so much effort goes into wedding. I wish so much of effort went into marriage. Right? Marriage is a relationship. Wedding is an event. Right? It lasts for a few hours and then it is over. But there are hundreds of questions and hundreds of choices. Which kind of flower arrangement, which kind of dress you want, what kind of return gifts you want to give, what is the menu? Oh, endless discussion about all this. But any discussion about the marriage, zero. Right? So Ranjita says, what she says is so perfect. We wish 101 questions about the other person rather than about
I
the
read
wedding.
it after marriage, but then still work. But something that I remember, like my father used to say, the next day all the decoration, everything goes to the dustbin. But if
Yes,
you can spend more time in understanding, that might work
isn't it? So true.
better. Yes.
Yeah. Shashi?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Sridhar, once again, that I'll do through my message. Uh, my question is, since I'll be soon, like maybe in another 2-3 years, we are going to be welcoming our daughter-in-law and son-in-law. So will it be not very nice to include even the parents, or to the things that we are discussing, the guy and the girl are discussing, should be passed on to their parents? Because now that people are more aware, more accepting, so because later these issues bring a lot of chaos.
Bring a lot of chaos, isn't it? I mean, that's why I always say that, please discuss these things. How are you going to live together? because each person is perhaps the only child of the other parent. So have the same kind of respect that you have for your own parents, right? So they share the responsibilities. I know of wonderful people now who have taken care of their in-laws in such a wonderful way, both the guys and the girls, right? So if you are that kind of a person, there's no issue at all. But if you are somebody who says that, I just want to take care of myself, I don't want to take care. I mean, for instance, let us say a person comes from a broken family, right? Where she or she is not very happy with her own or his own parents. And now you want to take care of the in-laws, you come with a set of things that parents are like this. You're categorized, parents are like this. They're always dominating, they're always telling us what to do. So if you don't even give an option to try out how your in-laws are going to be, you're already come with a prepared mindset, right? So if you can be open about it, I would always say it's a good thing, Shashi, that, discuss it and be open about it.
Sridhar, my question was that will it be good, okay, fine to discuss this with the parents, like the guy and the girl have discussed? Now they need to pass on this the
They should.
same stuff.
They should. It is good to discuss because, like I said, people's decisions are not only affecting them, it affects everybody around them. Right? As long as your decision is affecting everybody around them, please involve, because there's a stake for others also have a stake in the marriage. So involve in those decisions which affect others, not every decision. Pallavi?
So Sridhar, I don't know if you'll cover this later, but a thought that came to me, or the more recent trend that I see with many young adults in family and circles is, so they have been dating these girls, boys, whatever, from their high school days, you say, right? Now, that was when they were 16, say, 16, 17, 18, whatever that age was. And then they go on to make their careers, their lives, whatever. And then they come to a marriageable age where maybe they are thinking of settling down in an institute. What would you tell them? Because they have grown from 16 to 26, right? They are no more the same kids who fell in love with each other. And over a period of time, they might have gone to different countries, studied at various places, met different people. Yet something probably still binds them together, that they'll give it a thought of maybe we can settle down. But what would be the important factors for them to consider? Because it shouldn't be like they walked into it and then 2 months later, they're like, hey, he's not the same guy I fell in love with when I was 16. And he won't be, nor will she be, right? So how do you address this with that set of, you might take this up in the session. I just thought it was something that came across, and I've been seeing it so commonly happening.
Yeah, true. See, here is an important idea I want you to understand. The only way to know a person is either to work with them or to stay with them. No matter how much time you have spent dating a person, no matter how much time you have spent talking to them on a coffee shop, on a lunch, on a dinner date, or this, you've gone for a movie, all that, the real aspect of that person comes out when you stay with them or when you work with them in a close association. Until then, it's all performance. Right? Until then, it's all performance. The real part of them, where the mask drops, comes only when you stay with them or when you work with them. So are we taking a chances? Yes, we are taking a chances. But is there a better way to understand that person? Let me go forward and help you to see what can we do to understand that other person.
Thanks.
So here are something very important for us to keep in mind when we want to understand relationships. Firstly, all relationships are suboptimal. We might not like this, but this is the truth. Every relationship in our life is suboptimal. It is not like, oh, this is the best kind of a thing you have. Every relationship will be less than what it should have been like. Even if you have been in the courtship, like Pallavi said, somebody has been in the courtship for 6 years, 10 years, and then they go into the marriage, that relationship is still suboptimal. So the important idea here is we have to learn to live with suboptimal relationships. Can we learn to live with suboptimal relationships? Because every relationship is suboptimal. There are no perfect partners. There is nothing like this perfect person I will find and I will do that. There are no perfect partners. Right? You can go on searching for them. Sometimes people come to me and say that, I don't know. I've seen 4 people, I've seen 5 people, I've gone out with them. I don't know whom I should marry. So how do we, okay, this is an interesting point here. How do we help them to stop at what point? Right? At what point do you stop? How many will you see? right? Because today, I mean, the world has changed so much, right? You can swipe whatever it is that Tinder, whatever the 10 other apps that are there, Bloom, Tinder, something else somebody was mentioning, right? So there's so many apps, right? You can swipe, you can go meet them, talk to them, spend a couple of sessions with them, then go spend a couple of sessions. I mean, today people do parallelly, right? It's not like serial, you go serial dating, you go parallel dating because you're trying to find who is the best fit for you. So where do you stop? How do you know where to stop? And you're always like, oh, I stop here. What if somebody really perfect was there, the next one, right? So I always tell people that, give yourself a time stop, right? You're going to search for 6 months. And then after the end of 6 months, if the person whom you have all seen, if one of them is still available for you, right? Go with them. If that person is already gone because you went to others, now you can't get back to them because that person is already been taken, right? Then at the end of 6 months, whoever is the first person you get who is better than most of the people you have seen, go with them, right? This is not something I'm saying from my heart. No, this comes from science. No, science says that, I mean, this is a common problem. It's called, in psychology, it's called the secretarial problem, right? You can check up on that. How do you know you want to hire a secretary? There are 100 people waiting in the queue to hire. How many will you check, right? According to science, it says that, you check for 37% of the people. And then after that, the 38 onwards, whoever comes the best, you take them. Otherwise, you can go on endlessly, right? I've known so many people now who have not been able to jump in and make the decision. 2 years, 3 years has gone past and still and they're frustrated that they're not getting married, right? So you can't go on endlessly about that because there are no perfect partners, right? All relationships are going to be suboptimal. So you give yourself a time stop, right? Relationships always have to have a time stop. Decision making always has to have a time stop. What do I mean by time stop? I'm going to try this for 3 months. I'm going to try this for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, I'm going to make a choice, right? Good, bad, ugly. I'm going to make a choice at the end of 6 months. Otherwise, you can go on for eternity without making choices, without making a decision. So there are no perfect partners. Every relationship will have unsolvable issues. Every relationship will have unsolvable issues. The best of the marriages that you're seeing, right? You might think somebody is a perfect couple. They also have unsolvable issues. What are these? We'll come down to that. And lastly, can you understand and live with the person that you're seeing and not expect a change? Can you understand and live with that personality and still not expect a change from them, right? You're going to marry what you see. You're not going to marry a potential, right? This person has the potential to be like this. Don't go with that. Marry what you see. What are you seeing? That person is what you're going to marry. But how do we really understand a personality? How to understand a person's personality? This is the core of today's session, that I want to come here. That there are patterns of behavior that defines a person. Everybody works in patterns. Our behavior is very much of a pattern. You will do the same thing again and again and again, right? Unless you become really conscious of it and say, I want to step out of this pattern, believe me, you will be doing exactly the same thing. You chose the first person, you got married to the first relationship you went, you will continue to choose similar people for your second relationship and third relationship and wonder, why is it not working for me? Why is that I always end up using a wrong person in my life? Because you're going by the pattern, right? How do we understand patterns in our behavior? How do we understand the other person's personality? Observe their patterns. How do they behave when they're angry with others? How does this person behave when he is angry with others? He or she is going to behave the same way with you when they are going to be angry with you. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? How do they behave when they don't get what they want? They want something, they're not getting something from the other person. How do they behave? My dad said, I asked my dad for something and he said, no, he can't give it to me. I said, why should I be talking to this guy? I'm not talking to my dad for the last 3 days. If in your relationship, when you refuse him something, or refuse her something, She's going to give you the exact silent treatment that she or he gave to their parents. Because this is their pattern. Are you okay with this kind of a person who is going to demonstrate that when they don't get what they want from you, this is going to be their reaction? How do they behave under stress? Do they lash out at others? Do they kind of take to some addictive pattern when they become stressful? What do they do when they become stressed? Your marriage is going to have a lot of stressful situations. This person is going to behave exactly the same way because they are wired to behave the same way. Are you okay with that? How do they talk about others? How do they talk about others? How does he or she talk about her parents? How does she talk about her siblings? How do they talk about their friends? Tomorrow, if something goes wrong in your relationship, it's the exact way they're going to talk about you to others. Does this make sense? That the best way to understand a person is to observe their patterns of behavior. Patterns don't change easily. They're going to go on repeating the same patterns of behavior. I will give you an example from my personal life of how I recognized this kind of a pattern in somebody's behavior and how it comes back to bite you. I was working in an organization. I'm talking about a couple of decades back. I was working in an organization where I had a boss, right? And nice organization on the surface of it, right? Oh, it looked good to me, right? So one day the boss wanted to throw out somebody from the organization. He or she, did not want somebody to be working in that organization. So he walks up to me and he says, this person, is causing a lot of trouble in this organization. And somehow I don't like it, I just nodded my head. And then he says, can you take care of this? Can you kind of pass it on the information to the other person that, they should quit the job? I felt very thrilled. I said, oh, wonderful. He or she trusts me so much that, he's giving me such wonderful responsibility that I should be talking to this person to throw them out. I said, definitely I'll do it. So I went and I talked to that other person and I kind of convinced them that, it's time for them to put in their papers, kind of stuff. The person felt very sad, but they put in their papers. So I came back and told this person, like, that person is no longer going to come. I said, wonderful job. I know I could trust you with this. I felt very thrilled. And I felt so close to that person. My boss is so much admiring my capacity to handle his work. And then I noticed that, 2 months down the line, there was another person he wanted to terminate. And he goes to another person who was close to them and he talks to them and says, can you work on that, and see to that, that person quits. It suddenly struck me, what is this person doing? Right? He or she does not want to address anything directly. Right? Whenever they want somebody to be fired from the job, they fire the gun from somebody else's shoulder. Right? And the other way this person was doing it is when he wanted somebody to quit the office, either he would not tell them or he would make life very uncomfortable for them. Right? Hundreds of ways he would make a life very uncomfortable for them. When they greet, he would not greet back. For meetings, he would not call them. He will not give them additional responsibilities. He will sideline them all the major work. So the person himself feels extremely uncomfortable and says, there's no point in working and quit. So what is the pattern you see here? The pattern you see here is that this person does not want to confront others with negative communication. He does not have either the courage or the whatever you call it, not to kind of tell them, hey, look, this is not working out for us. Can we part? I mean, it would have been a nice thing for him to do that. But he never did that. He always used somebody else's shoulder to fire at somebody else and get them going. Or make life uncomfortable for them in some way or the other. This was his pattern, and I could notice the pattern years after years. This is exactly what he is doing for everybody. And not surprisingly, one day it was my turn. Right? Not surprisingly, one day it was my turn. Right? So suddenly something happened, and this person did not want me in that organization, but he did not have somebody else to come and tell me. So he started making life uncomfortable for me. Ignore you in your meetings, whatever suggestions you give are thrown into the dustbin, and not greeting you, not talking you, all that vanished. And you are left with the idea that, my turn has come, right? in the beginning, when the first time happened, I was thrilled that I was doing the job. But what I did not realize it, when my turn comes, the same thing will happen to me. Right? This is what I mean by notice patterns of people. That gives you enormous clue about what kind of a person they are. Am I making sense? Right? Notice the patterns of people. They never change. You know what you see? The leopards don't change their spots. Right? The tigers don't change their stripes. It's like that. People don't change patterns. The patterns that they've had for a long time will always be there. They want to throw somebody out of the job. This is the exact playbook they have. Call somebody else, make them feel very good that this is, and then use them to throw the other person out, or make the person so uncomfortable, the entire organization, that they'll say, sorry, I'm going. Right? Oh, I did not do anything. I'm always welcoming. Everybody is welcome in this organization. Right? My doors are always open for everybody, but make life uncomfortable for that person, because this person had an image that, he or she is very kind, very generous, very helpful to others. So he did not want his image destroyed. I'm not blaming him. Please understand, I'm not blaming him. Today, I mean, those days I would have got angry, but today I'm not blaming him. I'm saying this is who he was. And that's who I was too at that point of time, wanting to please this person and kind of take up the job for them, what do you call it, as a boss ka hatchet job. Every mafia boss has got somebody now, he says, hey, usko jara uta ke aao. He goes and usko uta ke leke aane ka hai. That's kind of a hatchet job you do. Right? This is his pattern. So that was my pattern, to kind of be nice to that person who's asking me something. So two patterns come together, things go on happening until you decide, I want to step out of the pattern. So the best way to understand somebody is observe their patterns. That is going to remain constant. They're going to do the same thing again and again. Siddharth, go ahead. Siddharth, you have raised your hand. You have to unmute yourself and ask.
No, sir.
Okay. Pratima?
One thing I want to say is about the observation that earlier you had mentioned, Sridhar, that, how long do you need to wait to get the next your partner?
Yeah.
So there's this joke that it's about computers and having a marriage partner is the same. If you wait for a little longer, you'll always get a better model. So this is a joke that is there. So, but jokes apart, when you were talking about this pattern and what is the behavior of the pattern, one thing that I'm reminded of is actually my children told me about this, is to observe how that person treats somebody who is a subordinate, or someone who is a helper, or who is working for you. Observing that talks a lot about that person.
100%.
So this is just one cue to tell you how that person treats will tell a lot about that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Lakshmi, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. See, one way of observing that you mentioned was like work with them closely, and which is very true. But many times we find, I don't know whether it's specific to the Indian culture, people are different at the workplace and what they are at home.
Huh?
Yeah. So how does one address that?
Yeah, see, when I say work with them, I'm not saying that, if you're working in the same atmosphere, you will get to know them. No, you have to be working with them on a project, right? Only when you work with them closely on a project, then you will get to know, how does this person handle stress? How does this person handle deadlines? How does this person handle superiors? How does this person handle people who are subordinates to them? Right? That is what I mean by observing closely. Yes, people can have two different personalities at work and at home, no doubt about that. But at least you beginning to open your eyes to see what is this person
Very
about.
true.
Right? Instead of asking foolish questions like, what's your favorite color and what's your favorite food?
True.
Right? That's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Siddharth, you still have a raised hand? You want to
Yes,
ask?
sorry, I last time could not get that how to unmute myself. First of all, would like to thank you, Sridhar sir, for such a insightful this one video conference and webinar. Regarding these patterns, me and my wife is also right now listening to this webinar. We just wanted to know that now we are realizing that we have certain patterns, right? And we also want to make it a very good fruitful partnership marriage as well. So how can we come up any patterns which may not be pleasing the other person?
Yeah, we'll talk about that, right? We'll talk about how do we handle unsolvable problems, because most of the patterns go towards understanding personality, right? I hope I would have addressed your concern by end of this session today. Yes, Seema.
They also say travel with the person. So many times, in a very comfortable place with cousins, you see you really hit off very well. But actually, when you travel with them, you understand all the idiosyncrasies of each other. So, yeah.
Traveling is the same thing as working on a project with them, right? You're going to spend the same shared hours doing exactly the same thing. That's when you get to know stress, how is it handled? Anger, how is it handled? Frustration, how is it handled? Right? How do they manage their emotions? Do they have an emotional regulation mechanism? So all this you come to know whether you travel with them, whether what I'm saying is spend close proximity doing things with them. That's when you get to know them. Otherwise, you don't get to know them. Anuradha?
So you said all relationships are suboptimal. So can you just explain this again?
What I mean by that is that, every relationship will have something that you will not get out of, right? You will not get everything out of one relationship.
Okay.
Right? Every relationship will have something that you feel like, my dad is nice, but if he had done this, I would have had a better dad. Right? Like my grandmom is a wonderful woman, but I don't like this about her. Right? So every relationship will have something that is not good about it. That's what I mean by suboptimal relationships. So let's move forward. Oh, here are the 4 areas where you need to watch out for the patterns of behavior. Core values, right? Core values. How do they address core values? We'll talk about these 4 things again, right? Emotional regulation skills. How do they manage their emotions? When, like I said, the key observation is what do they do when they become anxious? What do they do when they become angry? What do they do when they become sad? What do they do when they have done something wrong? As simple as that, right? This person has comes and says, today I did something. My sister was there. She did this. I did this. I know I have done something wrong, but I don't want to apologize for it. What does it tell you? That this person believes not in apologizing, right? Not in apologizing. My sister did this, but I kind of don't want to apologize for it, and I don't even want to tell her that I did this for her. This person is saying that he or she will not take responsibility for their actions. Read that, right? That is what going to happen to you when you and he are going to have a problem. This person is not going to apologize to you too. You're not special. That's an important thing to understand. You're not special just because you're going to be his partner. He or she is going to treat you exactly the same way they treated their sister in a particular situation, in that particular context. If you have the same situation or context coming up with you, he or she is going to be exactly the same. Does this person hide things from their loved ones? He comes and tells you that, I did this, but I never told my dad I did this, because if I tell my dad, he's going to get pissed off. This person is also going to keep secrets from you because you're going to get pissed off when you get to know the real truth, right? This is what I mean by patterns of behavior. Core emotional regulations, communication styles. Like I said, my dad said this to me. I'm not going to talk to him for 3 days. Exact communication styles. Or this person came and said, my mom came and said, how can you be like this? This something I did and she was wrong. I was wrong, but I attacked her instead. So this person is somebody who will counter-attack the moment somebody attacks them. He or she is not going to say, sorry, I did this, I am apologizing it. No. Oh, I did this. What about you? That day you did this. No. Exactly the same thing you're going to hear from him or her when that argument starts. Communication styles is attack that other person when they're doing it. Be silent with the other person when they're doing it. Withdraw from the other person when you're doing it. Punish them with silence, right? Or punish them by withholding some privileges. This is the exact communication style of this person. If he or she is behaving like this with others, he or she is going to behave exactly the same way with you. You are not going to be very different. Does it make sense? When resources are scarce, how does this person behave? When I say resources can be time, resources can be money, resources can be energy, resources can be emotional bank that you have. So when that is low, how does this person behave? Which means stress. When resources are scarce, you are under stress. How does this person behave when he or she is under stress? Exactly the same things will behave. So here is the observation toolkit for us. We have talked about observation, which is the core idea of understanding that other person, right? So here is the observation kit. How do they deal with family members? Do they deal with patience? Do they deal with resentment? What are the unresolved conflicts in the relationship? How do they handle unresolved conflicts? Is there respect for that other person? Do they talk with about their parents, about their aunts, uncles, grandpa, siblings with a lot of respect? Or is there always a resentment that, oh, my dad is like this, my mom is like this? If this person is somebody who comes across as a complaint box, whining about everybody in their life, this person will whine about you. This person is an extremely unhappy person, right? Everybody is at fault except them. This is going to be the theme of their life. They're always a victim, and they're going to play the victim card forever in their life. If this is the kind of a person who's there, he or she is going to play a victim card with you too, right? Always holding that. Or there's a lot of resentment. Like, let something happen to me, then I'll show my mom what I can do for her. I want to take some kind of a revenge on the people around me who have bothered me. So this is the kind of a person he or she is, that they will go and harm the other person when they can, right? Do they have an unresolved conflicts in their family members? I don't want to talk about it at all with my mom. I have an issue with my mom, but I don't want to talk about it. There's no point in talking about it. So this person is somebody who will keep on shoving conflicts under the carpet. Even the important conflicts, they're going to shove it under the carpet. So how they talk about their family members gives you a lot of clue about how they're going to talk about you, because you're going to be a family member. And how they're going to, this is exactly how they'll talk about your parents too. Push comes to shove, this is exactly the behavior. If they don't respect his or her own parents, they're not going to do the same thing for your parents. Highly unlikely. How do they talk about ex-partners? Right? If this person has already been in one or two other earlier relationships, how do they talk about ex-partners? Do they take blame? Do they lay blame on the other person for everything that happened? Or do they take responsibility also? Yes, my relationship with that other person did not work out because he or she was like this, and I also made some mistakes in the relationships. Are they going to balance it out? Or they're going to say the entire thing was her or his fault, that's why the relationship broke up? I was very good. I did everything that I could. He or she, they were kind of devils, or they kind of paint them completely black. Now you got a clue what happens if you break up in the relationship. Is this person talking anything positive about the earlier relationship? Is there a sense of lingering bitterness? Even now, that bitterness is there. That person left me and went. This person can't take a no for an answer. If there's going to be continued lingering bitterness in the relationship, for the relationship that's already over, this person can't take no for an answer. I tried everything and still he or she rejected me. What kind of a person they are? What do they want me to do? Right? This person can't take no for an answer. Do they want to get even with that other person? Someday I will show them what it is. Someday I will also hurt them for what they have done to me. This person can be very revengeful or vengeful kind of a person. So how they talk about their peers, how they talk about their ex-partners, gives you a tons of clue of what kind of a person they are. They are not going to change. Like Pratima said, how do they treat service workers? How do they treat people who are lesser than you? How do they treat the household help? How do they treat the cab driver? How do they treat the waiter in the hotel? Do they treat them with kindness, or do they treat them with entitlement? Just because I am powerful, I can do whatever I want. So this person uses power to put down others. So if it comes to you in your relationship, they're going to use power to put down you. It could be physical power, it could be emotional power, it could be financial power, it could be any other kind of power in the relationship. This person believes in a power thing. To them, power is extremely important. If they kind of treat the cab drivers, the salespeople, or the waiters with absolute disdain, that they all should be serving me all the time, this tells you what this person feels entitled to everything around them. Right? It could be a boy, it could be a girl. Right? If they feel entitled to the whole thing, oh, I've been a princess in my dad's life, everybody should be serving me. Right? This is exactly what he or she will be in your marriage. Right? If you're the boy going to get married to this girl, she'll believe in entitlement. that because she is whatever she is, that everybody should be serving her. It's not going to change because you are somebody in her partner. How do they treat friends? What kind of friends do they have? Do they support their friends when they are in need? Do they have long-standing, stable friendships? Or do they treat every friendship as transactional? No, I had some job with him, so I was nice to him. My job with him is over, so why should I be nice to him? I don't even call them because there's nothing for me to call. I don't need anything from them anymore. So is this person transactional in their relationships? You can understand all this and say, I don't mind him being transactional with others. Great. But keep your eyes open. If this person is transactional, he's going to be transactional in most of the relationships. Right? How does this person look at another idea? How does this person treat people who are sick? How does this person treat people who are sick? What do I mean by that? I mean, I had this person who came and said, my mom was in the hospital, but I didn't want to go and see her at all. No, what is there to go and see people who are sick in the hospital? The doctors are there, everybody is there, they'll take care of them. And the wife came and said, no, he's talked like this. I felt very bad that, that his mom was sick and he was not even going to see her and help her out and all that. I really felt bad. 1 year down the line, this woman got admitted to the hospital. And this guy was so resentful because now he's not her mom, he's his wife, right? And he's the only person responsible for her. For him, going to the hospital and looking after her for the hospital was so resentful for him. What happened with the mom exactly happened to her too, right? He didn't want to go and look at his mom in the hospital because whatever the relationship was there with them, he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to go to hospitals. And he did exactly the same thing when his wife fell ill. Because he was forced to, he just went with a lot of resentment saying that, what have you got into, this mess, you broke your leg, now look at me, I have to come and look after you, right? And when a person is sick, they don't need resentment around them. They need kindness. They're already going through a lot of pain, right? You don't want a spouse now who is going to be resentful because you fell sick for no fault of yours, whether physical ailment or mental ailment, whatever comes to you, for no fault of yours, right? But this person behaved as if it was their fault. This is exactly what I'm saying about observe how they treat others, gives you tons of clue of what kind of a person they are. And here is the thing, when you're observing, active listening, extremely important. Hear their words, hear their emotions, hear the unsaid things. Observing behavior patterns over time. Don't look at isolated incidents. Don't look at one thing that he did. If somebody does it once, that is excusable. If somebody does it twice, your antenna goes up. If they do it the third time, that's their pattern, right? Once can be a mistake, second is a flag, third is a pattern. So if you see 3 times them doing the same thing again and again, this is how this person's pattern is, right? Look at their emotional responses. That's a critical part. How do they emotionally respond? Do they blame or do they take responsibility? Do they behave like a child or do they behave like a grown-up? How do they behave when they don't have to perform for others? Extremely critical. Many people have seen behavior is extremely performative, which means what? I want to impress others, right? When I will do everything to make others have an image around me, right? That performance is extremely important for them. The example I gave of my boss, extremely performance oriented. Everybody should have a nice image about me. The core is very different, right? If this person is extremely performative, that they put up nice behavior when somebody important to them comes up, somebody more powerful than comes up, you know exactly who you are getting into in the relationship. So this is your observation toolkit. The red flags you ignore in the beginning is the exact relationship. In the relationship is the exact reason why the relationship will be there. You notice the red flags in the relationship very early, right? You notice it very early, but you tend to ignore it. You think, lot of love, right? Lot of romance, lot of passion, right? This is not going to affect me, right? That exact red flags is the reason why you will quit, even if it is years later. I had this, I said like I'm a boss. I saw the red flag on the second time, and it's the exact reason why I had to quit that relationship. Right? I can give you many examples from my life like that. Where I saw the red flags early, I ignored it because, oh, nice friend. He's such a nice guy. So many other things are good for him. It will not happen to me. This idea that it will not happen to me is the pitfall. right? It'll happen to you. The way he treated others will be exactly the way he treated you when you're in that situation. That's situational, right? In that situation, it is about this person. This person is like this. So do you want to live with that person? Go with open eyes. I'm not saying you can't live with that person. Go with open eyes. Anything? Let me take a pause and take some questions.
So, Sridhar, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead, Shashi.
So, Sridhar, thank you so much because the whole discussion helped me in giving a direction to one of my client who came recently. She's a medical student and she was having a very good time with a guy who had a huge crush and he liked her and he was even planning to propose her. And the girl was confused because she said that he's very nice, very caring. I feel very safety. I feel as if my papa is around me. But she has been attending the session, and I was not very sure why she's rejecting him. Because she spoke about the pattern. She said that he's very submissive. He doesn't take stand, and so what if tomorrow he doesn't take stand when I'm in the real relationship and married. So this is giving me a direction. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Like, that's an important part that Shashi brings up. Does this person stand up for the people he loves? Or does he not stand up for the people he loves? If he says, this happened with my sister, I did not stand up for her, I said, let her handle the whole thing. He's going to do exactly the same thing for you when you're in the down dumps. He's not going to stand up for you. Right? I had another person who came and said, oh, he's a lot of my mom thing. He's a mama's boy, but let me marry him. I'll change that. I said, please don't get into that. Right? You want to marry him for something else, marry him, but don't think that you'll marry him and change him from being a mama's boy or whatever he is. Right? That's not going to ever happen. And believe me, I've known people who are 50, who are 60 and still follow whatever their parents are saying. Right? They're ever going to be like that. I have a client who is 60 years old, can't say no to anything that his mom says. Right? I mean, it's one thing to kind of respect your parents, be nice to them, but to say everything that they say is fine, that's your personality, right? That's not going to change. So be aware of that part. Okay? So let's move forward. So here are the key questions about values. What does success mean to you? What are your non-negotiables? What are the areas you are willing to compromise on? What are the red lines that you would draw that if you cross this red line, this relationship is not? I can't get into this relationship if you want to have kids. I don't want to have kids. That's your non-negotiable area, right? Don't get into the relationship in spite of the non-negotiable area. You're going to be in huge trouble. So values and priorities mean a lot. My job means everything to me, right? Tomorrow, if my job says you have to go to overseas, I will go there. What are you going to do? You don't want to go to America, or you don't want to go to, who wants to go to America now? But you don't want to go to any other country, right? But if this person says, my job, wherever it takes me, I will go, you have to come along with me. That's a non-negotiable thing for him. What are you going to do about it? Asking these things is extremely important. What are your non-negotiables? And what are the areas you're willing to compromise? How do you cope with stress? One is to observe the person and understand all this. If you're not able to understand that, at least ask these questions. How do you cope with stress? What has been the most stressful situation in your life? Always ask them to give examples. Don't go for abstract things like how do you handle stress? The person will not know what you're talking about. Ask them, what is the most stressful situation you have faced in your life? How did you handle it? What's the biggest disappointment you have faced in your life? How did you handle it? What was the worst thing that has happened in your life? How did you handle it? How did you handle disagreements with people you love? This shows you how this person is going to handle conflicts and how to handle stress. I'm looking at everything negative today, right? Because like I said, preventive thing is better than curative thing any day. You go with your eyes open and look into that and go, great, right? So we have to play a bad cop when you are doing a marriage counseling or a premarital counseling part of it. What does partnership mean to you? In what areas is there individual freedom? What can I expect from you? What are your expectations from me? Have those expectations sorted out. If you do not have the expectations sorted out, everybody will go with their rose-tinted glasses, saying, oh, someday we'll work this out. You don't work this out, right? Core areas, some things can be worked out, some things can't be worked out. So these are the key questions to ask, and you need to have clear answers for this in premarital counseling. I just want to tell you that there are 3 kinds of happy couples. You might think that, in a happy marriage or in a happy couple, everything is nice. Not necessary, right? There are volatile relationships. They can also be very happy couple. A lot of volatility is there. Both of them are extremes on emotions, right? For everything, oh, you don't do this, I'll walk out of the relationship, you walk out of the relationship. Everything is extreme emotions. Anger is at 10x, anxiety is at 10x, sadness is at 10x. This relationship can still work. Just because somebody is volatile, don't dismiss. When you see marriage counseling and see there's a lot of volatility in the relationship, don't dismiss it as this relationship will not work. The relationship can still work if there's a lot of respect for each other. If there's a lot of mutual understanding for each other, right? It can still work. So volatile relationships can also be happy marriages. Validating relationships can also be happy marriages. Each person is validating the other person, saying, oh, you're sad, you're upset. A lot of empathy is there. These relationships also are happy marriages. And most importantly, conflict avoiding relationships can also be happy marriages. There are many happy marriages around in your own life. You would have seen that, conflict avoiding doesn't make them messy. Like I said, the negatives are not there, marriages will work. Even if there's nothing greatly positive, my husband, I've been married to him for 5 years. He's not romantic. He's nothing, but he's okay. He's a nice guy. Marriage will still work, right? If there's no presence of negatives, marriages will work. It's the presence of negatives that kills relationship. If there are no great positives, also marriages will work. Oh, I like to travel, but my husband doesn't like to travel. We've not gone out anywhere in the last 5 years. It doesn't mean the marriage will not work. The positives are missing, but it still work. Does it make sense? So when you're doing marriage counseling, please keep this in you. Just because you see a volatile relationship, don't assume that relationship is not going to work. Volatile relationships also work. So here I come to another important idea of solvable issues versus perpetual issues. Like I said, every relationship has unsolvable problems, right? Permanent problems. So solvable issues are easy to understand. Let me give you what are perpetual issues. Perpetual issues are personality traits and lifestyle needs. We'll go deeper into this. But lifestyle needs essentially mean, what does this person say life is valuable if I have this? If I don't have travel in my life, life is not valuable. What's the point in earning if I don't see the world? For this person, lifestyle issue is a travel. That is not going to compromise. That's going to be a permanent conflict between you and your partner, right? Lifestyle issues. I want to be somebody who's going to donate to charities, right? I believe in giving. That's going to be a lifestyle issue. If that is not going to be accepted by you, you're going to be in a problem. How do you know something is a permanent problem? One, it is long standing, right? Whatever the nature of your relationship, you have seen that it's again and again, it's the same thing comes up. And this person, any discussion on this will feel like an attack by that other person. The feeling of not being accepted for who I am comes up. Oh, you're constantly attacking me for wanting to travel. You're constantly attacking me for wanting to help others. So this kind of discussion, when it comes up, this is a perpetual problem. It's an unsolvable issues. So we have to learn to live with unsolvable issues. So when somebody comes to me and says that, I've got 2 choices, I can marry A or I can marry B. Whom do I go with? My answer is, which unsolvable issues do you want to live with? Whose unsolvable issues do you want to live with? Do you want to live with the unsolvable issues of this person, or do you want to live with the unsolvable issues of the other person? That will determine whether you're going to be happy in the marriage or not. So some personality differences. I want to bring this idea to you that when I said personality issues are permanent problems, it's always going to be there. I'm just going to list some personality issues that I want you to be aware of, which always creates a lot of conflict between people. The idea that initiators and responders. One person could be an initiator in the relationship, the other person just responds all the time. This causes a lot of problems unless you understand that it's all right for some people to be initiators. Right? Some people are good at initiating a lot of things. One person says, oh, I'll initiate travel. When I say travel, my husband says, fine, I'll go. When I say that, let's go out for eating for the restaurant, my boyfriend says, yeah, let's go out and eat at a restaurant. When I say, let's see a movie this weekend, he nods his head and comes to see a movie. But why can't he initiate? Why should I be always the person to initiate? No, doesn't he care? Doesn't he know? No, this person doesn't know. This person doesn't know how to initiate things. You are going to be the initiator. Are you okay with being the initiator? As long as the other person is responding to you favorably, take that now as a happy sign that you can get whatever you want with this person. If you're constantly fighting, why is my husband never says anything? I only have to go and tell him, shall we go there? He says, yeah, we will go there. Shall we eat out? Yeah, he will eat out. My husband has never told me, let us go out and eat. Why is it that I am always the person now who is initiating things? I feel so resentful about it. Pointless. Pointless, because the other person's personality is just to respond. He cannot initiate. With you, he cannot initiate. Very nice. When his sister comes and says, he'll say, let's go out for it. And we all jump and go out for it. But he never told that to me. Yeah, that's who he is. With his sister, he's an initiator. With you, he's a responder. Accept the truth about the other person. Don't fight personalities. Right? It's important to understand that some of us are initiators in certain things. Some of us are not initiators in certain things. Right? For me, I'm not an initiator in phone calls. I do not initiate phone calls with anybody around me. Somebody calls me, I'm very happy to talk to them for as long as they want. But do I think of initiating the phone calls? It doesn't strike me. Right? My mom calls me every week and talks to me. I'm happy to talk to her for as long as she wants to talk. Do I pick the phone and call her? She said, you never call me. I said, yeah, I never call you. But I said, you never call me every week. No, I'm happy you call me whenever I talk. No, you talk so nicely when I call. No, why can't you call? I said, I'll think. But I can never get down to that because my mind doesn't go there. Right? It is not about intentions. It's about, I don't think of those things. Right? So if your partner is somebody who's not thinking of certain things of, wanting to go for fun, wanting to do things, it's perfectly all right. This is their personality. Accept that and live with that. Right? Don't fight that personality saying you got to initiate. The person struggles to initiate. Even if you kind of force them to say, tomorrow you're going to tell me which restaurant you want to go. That person, it's like a huge project for them. Which restaurant do I go? What do I do? Ask 10 people now what to do. It's a huge project for them and they'll feel tense about doing that. So don't force people to be what they are not. That's a personality difference. That's not going to change. Time conscious versus time blind. Some people are time conscious, some people are time blind. Accept this for who they are. Right? What do I mean by time conscious people? Time conscious people are people who know the time of their day without looking at the clock. Right? They know exact time of the day without looking at the clock. What approximately it should be around 12:30 now. I can say that even without looking at the clock, I can say it should be around 12:30 now. Right? I know exactly how much time a task will take. You tell me you have to prepare for this PPT for this session. I know this will take me about 2 hours. I can exactly estimate. And I know I'm more or less right within the margin of error. You'd ask me how much time it takes me to drive from here to the point A to point B. I can tell you exactly this much time it will take me. And plus minus 2 minutes, I'll be there on dot. And if there's a meeting for me at 11 o'clock, I'm there by 10:50. This is who I am. Extremely time conscious person. But there are a lot of people around me who are not time conscious. For them, 11 o'clock means 11:30. What difference does it make? And here I'm jumping. Oh, you said you'll come at 11 o'clock. What happened? You did not come. Right? Pointless. Right? I should know that this person is time blind or time conscious. Estimate in your thing. You have been living with them or you have been dating them for such a long period of time. This person is not time conscious. If he says 11, he'll come by 11:30. So I will not become tense about that. I will do something else until 11:30. Keep myself occupied and not look at the clock every 5 minutes and say 11:05, 11:10, 11:15. This is the way. He doesn't respect me. He takes me for granted. Right? This is disrespectful of other people's time. No, it's not. He's not doing it intentionally. What I want you to think is if you're a time conscious person, you're not doing it intentionally. Sorry, I'm blowing your ego away. You're not doing it intentionally. You can't help it. Right? I can't help being on time. Right? It itches me now if I'm not there on time at a particular time. If I said I'll come at 11 o'clock, I have to be there at 10:50. Right? Even if the place is not open, I'll be standing there waiting for the place to be open because that's who I am. I'm not doing it intentionally. My body drives me to that point to be there on time. This is who I am. And the person who comes late, they are also that kind of a person who do not have an internal clock. Right? Many people do not have an internal clock inside them. What do you do about it? We learn to navigate spaces around them. Right? You want to go to the marriage at the right time. No, marriage, muhurtam, 9 o'clock. We have to go there at 9 o'clock. This person is 9 o'clock. How do I go at 9 o'clock? Right? Oh, you're like, no, we have to go at 9 o'clock. And you be ready at 9 o'clock. This person will not be ready at 9 o'clock. Right? And you're full frustrated. No, you're all ready and go. So what I generally advise people is If important things are there, separate your time. Look, tomorrow marriage is there. It's important for me to be at the muhurtam. I will go at 9 o'clock. You come for lunch. Right? Then we'll come back together. The person is also happy. You're also happy. This is how you solve unsolvable problems. Right? Accepting the other person for who they are and learning to navigate the space between you and them. This person is not time conscious. What do? It's not time conscious. So I will create it in such a way that I am time conscious. So I never tell people come and pick me up at 11 o'clock. I'll tell them I'll come into your house and pick you up at 11 o'clock. Right? Because here I'm waiting 11 o'clock. This person will say he'll come. He's not come. No, my time is getting wasted. Why? I said, you be ready. When you're ready, just give me a call. I'll come and pick you up. So I don't feel anxiety about the other person being different from me. People are different from you and they're not deliberately doing that. People are not doing it to deliberately rile you up. Your child is not deliberately becoming late to go to school because he likes to rile you up. He or she doesn't know. He goes into the bathroom and says, 5 minutes, I'll have my bath and come. That 5 minutes is 30 minutes before you know it. Right? So you put a clock inside the bathroom, right? You're saying you're going to come back in 10 minutes. When this clock rings, you come out. External clock, you need external cues. Right? So understanding that some people can be time blind and you can be time conscious is extremely important. This does not change over a period of your marriage. You can be married for 60 years, your wife or husband is still going to be laid back about time, not because of deliberateness, because they don't have internal clock. This is their physical part of it. Right? This is not going to change their nature. People can be space conscious and space blind. Another personality trait which is not ever going to change over their lifetime. What do we mean by space conscious and space thing? You will never hear of this term anywhere in psychology, right? It comes from my observation of looking at me, that I am a space blind person. Space blindness means that, you will be extremely disorganized with your space. Right? You're not conscious of what is there. So if you actually come and look at my table, there are two water bottles lying there. There are two spectacles lying. There's one book. On top of that book, there is some handkerchief lying there. So it's an absolute mess here. Am I happy with this mess? Absolutely. Right? I'm extremely peaceful. I'm extremely happy with this mess. I can live with this. I'm not dysfunctional because I'm disorganized in what other people will come and tell me. That somebody else in my family will come and look at me and say, how can you work in this mess? I say, which mess? I said, where is mess? Right? This is who I am. I can live with this. But there's other people who want everything in its place. Everything should be in their place. Only then they can work. That's who they are. They're not being deliberate. They're not being superior beings to you. This is who they are. Right? They're extremely time, space conscious people. They know everything which it has to go. Right? In my home, I really suffer from my space blindness. I go into the kitchen and they say, put all these plates into that thing. I put all the plates and then they come and say, what is that? Don't you see this big plate should be behind, front plate should be? I said, which is big, which is small? Right? You look at all the spoons. Now, all the small spoons should go into this. All the big spoons should go into this. So they stopped asking me to organize the kitchen. Right? If I cook something and come back, something will be left over. They're saying, didn't you see that oil can? Right? You have not wiped that oil can. Oh, I have not wiped that oil can. It doesn't strike me. I'm not oriented towards a space thing. Right? I had a hilarious thing once. I can't estimate now which lid suits which thing, which vessel. Right? So once that vessel was there and they said, no, can you just close that vessel with the lid? I take a lid and put it, it sinks into the sambar. And everybody is having a great laugh now, and it has become a joke in the family for decades now, saying, oh, he'll put lids into the sambar now because he doesn't know which lid will go there. This is who I am, right? So people who are space conscious, living with people who are space blind, extremely tough. But if you accept that and say, look, in this area when you come, please do this. So today I'm more conscious of that I'm space blind. And work towards saying, okay, in these areas, I will come and do. In your areas, I'll be more space conscious. Your cupboard, when I want to keep something, I'll fold it neatly and keep as if I've ironed it and keep. In my cupboard, it's a mess. So please leave my leave my cupboard to myself. Your part, I will come. Whenever I touch it, I'll put it back. But don't come and complain about my part. So this is the negotiation you have to have for personality traits, that you can't change these things. Am I making sense? I'm sure I'm connecting with a lot of people here now about these parts, right? And then another personality trait I want to give. Some people can be goal-oriented. Some people float in life, right? Being goal-oriented means what? You want to go somewhere, you have the entire itinerary ready with you. Oh, we'll go at 10 o'clock, we will leave, 10:15, we'll go there, do this, do this, do this. We'll see this place, that place, and come back. Your entire thing is goal-oriented life. Even from the smallest thing like going for a trip to whatever in your life itself in general, you have a goal in your in life. But there are people who are not goal-oriented, who are free floaters, right? We all float in life. Again, taking my example, I'm somebody who just floats in life. I look at what opportunities come. This opportunity come, I'll do this. That opportunity comes, I'll do this. Do I have an overarching goal in my life? Zero. I don't have an overarching goal in my life. Have I been successful in my own way? More or less, yes. What's the big deal? What does success mean? Right? Doing what you like, whatever comes. No, but you should have a goal in your life. Not necessary. Right? It doesn't appeal to a lot of us not to have a fantastic goal in life. You go there. I said, what do you do after going to the goal? ऊपर तो चढ़ गए अब नीचे कैसे आओगे? There was a nice saying, nothing ऊपर चढ़ना है, ऊपर चढ़ना है. हाँ, ऊपर तो चढ़ गए अब नीचे कैसे आओगे? That kind of a thing. I don't have a goal. Is it okay? Right? So you live with people who are goalless, with people who are goal oriented, free floaters. This is a personality trait. It can't be changed. This is how you understand a person and say, I will live with this person or I will not live with this person. I can't stand people who are messy. I will not live with this person. Or this person is messy, but I'll ask them to confine their mess to their place and don't touch this area. Right? Don't come and cook. I will cook no matter, because if you cook, you will make a mess. I'll have to clean up for another half an hour. You don't even come into the kitchen. I'm very happy. Right? Don't involve me. Right? Or if I go into the kitchen, I'll be extremely conscious, saying, okay, today I have to be space conscious. I have everything put up. I have cleaned up everything. I have not missed anything undone. So I pay extra attention. I had to bring in my extra consciousness there to do it. Can I do it? Yes, I can do it. But provided somebody approaches me with compassion, with kindness, saying, hey, thoda dekh lo na jara, don't leave things around. Yeah, I will not leave. But somebody forces me and kind of blasts me for who I am. I'm like, oh, don't do it. You go, you only do it. Why should I even come into the place? Right? Anuradha?
Sir, as you said that you are quite, messy in your working area or everywhere. So, what about those people, like you said, that they are not having their internal clock? So, suppose if I'm talking about a student, the student is not so much worried about the examination part, but they are very much on time when they want to go to their gym. So, what we say that this is their personality trait.
Yeah. Again, what is important? See, when I say people cannot be time conscious, look at them. They have never missed. People who are time blind don't miss appointments. They have not missed flights. Every time flight is there, don't go on missing flights and trains now when the flights and trains are there. In such cases, they kind of make an extraordinary effort to be there on time. It takes a huge effort on their part because it's an important thing to do. If this person thinks gym is important, they will do that. Right? So personality traits, like it fluctuates over things, right? I'm not space conscious in certain areas of my life, but in some parts of it, I'm extremely space conscious. Right? The way I keep my books, maybe the way I keep my clothes is more space conscious than the way I keep my books.
Sir, in marriages, usually the problem creates in this way that you are not time conscious or space conscious with me. You are time conscious and space conscious with your relatives, with your friends, and everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So accept me for who I am. Yes, with them I am like this, with you I am like this. Let's see how we can navigate the space between you and me. How can we make this work now that you don't get upset about it? That's why I said, that you want to go earlier for the muhurtam, please go. I'll come at lunchtime. Or I'll come and drop you there and I'll come back, then I'll come at lunchtime. Right?
Got it.
Whatever it works for you, work it out. Now, perpetual problems can be only worked out by giving the other person what they want and you getting what you want. Right? It's not like, oh, we are husband and wife, we have to go together for this. Now, what will people think if we don't go together for an event like this? What will people think? People are not bothered about you. That you just say, he's going to come. All right. Oh, bartare, bartini ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Done. Right? Nobody really bothers. No, don't be afraid of what the society thinks. We always are scared of 4 people in our life, right? वो 4 लोग क्या कहेंगे, 4 ಜನ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾರು 4 ಜನ? I'm 64 years old, I've still not found the 4 people in my life now who will trouble me. So don't get into that part of it at all in your life. No, then you're doing it for performance, right? Don't be performative in life as much as possible. Yeah, Anuja.
Yeah, without having unhealthy expectations, like you said, if a couple wants to go together and it's not because of what society would say, but probably that's the only day they have time together, then it should not always be, that I'll go my time, you come at your time. So
Absolutely.
then I think it would, I think it would be okay for the other person to work on it a bit and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
See, that always comes from request.
yeah,
It can't
exactly.
come from threats. It can't come from demand. It can't come from holding a knife over their head and say, tomorrow 9 o'clock, if you're not there, see what happens. It doesn't work like that. So, hey, tomorrow 9 o'clock, I have to go for this meeting. We both have to go. Can you please make an effort? Tell me what can I do to help you to kind of be ready on time?
Okay, yeah.
I
So,
want to be on time. So can you let me know how can I help you to be on time for this? You make an effort with approach with understanding. I know you're not very time conscious person, but this equation I want you to be right. I don't ask
some
you to be time.
empathy and understanding would
Absolutely.
probably
Create an understanding.
make them meet halfway. Yeah.
Yeah, that is something that's the best approach to have.
Yes.
Understanding that other person, validating their personality, and then saying this is what I want. Can we make an effort here? Right, that's a better chance of working than saying that tomorrow or else kind of a thing. Or else
I
do whatever you want.
know.
Threats don't work in relationships.
Hello, Sridhar.
Thank you.
Can I ask you? Hello,
Yeah, yeah,
Sridhar.
yeah,
Can
yeah,
I ask you one thing?
yeah, yeah.
Nowadays, many partners, they are coming from different religion, different caste, and all. So then their understanding and their negotiation, what type of it become complex more.
It becomes even more complex. See, as long as, I mean, today people are not marrying within the community part of it, but most people are marrying at least within the religion part of it. If the inter-religion thing is also added to it, the
Yes,
complexity increases much more because there are a lot
yeah,
of cultural differences will come. So you better
yes,
negotiate those things now and have some broad way of how are we going to work with this. How are we going to celebrate the festival? How are we going to raise the kids? If you're going to raise the kids, which religion are you going to raise the kids? Right?
yes.
Have that thing beforehand. Don't go with your eyes closed there. Have your eyes wide open when you walk into these things. So can they live together? Here's the compatibility framework. Negotiable differences. Preferences are always negotiable. Food, clothing, music, hobbies, minor habits. These are absolutely negotiable all the time in most of the issues. Non-negotiable differences, core values, deal breakers, honesty, integrity, life goals, children, career, where do we stay together, relationships, with parents, with siblings, and like Ranjana mentioned, religious beliefs, conflict resolution style. These are non-negotiable differences. So it takes a longer time to work it out. You can still work it out with a lot of empathy, with a lot of patience, with a lot of understanding of give and take. Right. So this is the framework for working out the compatibility part. Here's the final question. If nothing else changed about my partner, would I still choose them? The person I am dating is exactly what I see. If this person doesn't change in any way, would I still be wanting to marry them? This makes all the difference, right? This makes all the difference that what I'm seeing, is this the person I want to marry? Not what my potential is there, what my hope is there for change. Oh, if marriage happens, he will change. Nobody will change. Oh, he smokes a lot, but let me get married. Nothing will change. Right? You can't change those core habits of people just because you got married. So don't go with the illusion that we can change people after a marriage. If that change has to come, it has to come from their own internal compass. That when their compass points them to something, when incidents happen in their life which are very different, that's when they will change. Otherwise, they will not change. Right? So here is my summary of what we say. Don't go by superficial likes and dislikes. Right? Don't go by superficial, what I said, the Kaun Banega Crorepati kind of quiz you ask. Nice to know, but doesn't make any sense. Right? So don't go by the superficial likes and dislikes. Make effort to understand the other person by understanding their patterns of behavior. Yes, Lakshmi.
Can happen after the summary also. I just wanted to know, many of these things we will come to know, like what you said, only when you would live or work closely with that person. Just wanted to know, can we briefly talk about pros and cons of live-in relationships?
Living relationships are no different from what we've talked about. Right?
True.
Essentially, when you're actually living with person, you get to know them so much better than do you want to make a commitment on this? Right? live-in relationships are like an experiment in a crucible, right? You're doing an experiment of staying, like you're not married, but you're like married couple in the relationship. So you're going through all that. Now look at it. Do you want to commit to this person? Because it's not going to change. Just because you have been in a relationship and you get married, nothing is going to change. So look at what you're seeing in that other person and say, do I want this person in my life? Yes, they have got these negative things, but they have a lot of other things which I like. So I'm willing to put up with these negative parts of this person. Go with that open eyes. That's not going to change.
Yeah. But as I see, I mean, at least I think culturally we are all not still tuned so much to a live-in relationship. I mean, I may be okay as a counselor if somebody comes to me saying, we want to be in a live-in relationship. But when it comes to my own family, I may not be so open, so isn't that an additional
So are we saying that, should we encourage somebody when they say they want to be in a relationship? Are you asking that question? Should we say yes?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, before actually making a legal commitment.
Yeah. So basically what we look at it is, that what is the boundaries you're going to draw in the live-in relationship? Are there going to be any boundaries at all, or are there going to be no boundaries at all? Right? So if there are no boundaries at all, how are you going to deal with the outcome of it? Are you okay? Tomorrow, if this relationship doesn't work, are you okay to come out of the relationship and still be able to handle life? Because breakups are not easy to handle. Whether it's a live-in relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a marriage, breakups are never easy to handle for anybody. It always feels like a sense of failure comes into you at the end of it. Right? And how is the other person going to treat you after the live-in relationships? Are you okay with that? Are your parents okay with this kind of a thing? Do you want to do it openly, or do you want to do it without everybody coming to know about it? How do you want to handle this? So there we can look at the pros and cons. If the person wants to enter into a live-in relationship, make them aware of what are the pitfalls here. Right? These are going to be the thing. Once you tell your family you're going to be in this, they're expecting you to get married. They're not expecting you to come forward unless your parents are also very open-minded and saying, okay, you experiment, works, doesn't work, come back home. If your parents are that kind of a people, you've got a wonderful set of parents.
Yeah.
Your parents are saying, okay, you want to go in a relationship, go, but if it doesn't work, don't come back home. Then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's as a parent also, it's for us to make them aware, saying,
make them aware of that. Okay, if you are a parent who says, look, if you want to experiment, but I want a commitment by certain time. Right? Always set a stop loss for an investment. Right? You stop loss for investment of relationships. Yes, how long would you want to be in this relationship before you kind of say yes or no to it? What should go right? What should go wrong for you to come out of it? What will you take? Sometimes people get into the relationship and don't want to come out because they kind of half committed to it, and now they don't want to go to the parents and say, no, it's not working out. So there you begin to take abuse, you begin to take violence, you begin to take everything, even in a live-in relationship. Why? Because you don't have an outside support. So talk to them. Do you have an outside support to come? If you don't have this relationship, can you come back to your place? What are you going to do? What are you not going to tolerate even in the live-in relationships? Right? What are your non-negotiables even in relationships? I mean, I have people come and say, no, the moment some violence is there, I'm out of the relationship. Fair enough. At least you've got a sense of what will not work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. The other observation is, I mean, in general, why it's good to know through this session. Many people who want to be in a relationship or they don't know what they want. So
Which is so
what
confusing.
they expect from the other person comes next. They themselves don't know what they want.
It's so important to understand what are your needs that are going to be fulfilled in a relationship. What are your needs? So we make them think of, what do you think are your needs here? What is the need for freedom? What's your need for health? What's your need for a relationship? Why are you getting into this relationship at all? What need of yours is going to be fulfilled in this relationship? Right? Are you going to into a relationship just to escape your parents' house? So many people do that. Oh, my parents' house is so bad. The first relationship I get, I jump into it. You're making a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Running away from something to get into a relationship does not make any sense in the long run.
Exactly.
Right? So always can you wait? Okay, you want to get out of the parents' home, wait, but don't jump into the first relationship that you're getting. Is that relationship good for you? Then go for it. Otherwise, look at something else that is good for you. Just because there is a heat at your parents' place and you want to escape from there, don't jump into the first relationship.
Thank you.
All relationships are suboptimal, right? This is always important to keep in mind. Can each one of you live with the other person's unsolvable issues? recognize the unsolvable issues, and can you live with it? Yes, this person is time conscious, this person is time blind, this person is space like this person is like this person's communication style is like this person handles anger like this person handles anxiety like this. I'm okay to live with that because those are unsolvable issues. Can you accept yourself and the other person for who they are and learn to navigate your space between them? You don't have to change. That other person doesn't have to change. Can you still live with that thing? Can you accept yourself for who you are? I love myself for who I am. I will love other person for who he or she is. Then it's easy for me to live with them. I don't expect the person should change. The person should change. That is where the whole relationship issues start. I want the other person to change. I want the other person to change. Right? If the person feels I'm not being accepted for who I am. And people do make those changes. And the more changes a person makes, which is taking them away from their identity, the relationship may still survive, but the person is very unhappy in the relationship. I have become somebody I can't recognize because I've constantly changed to kind of cater to the relationship. Yeah, the relationship is surviving. The relationship is still there, but I am not the person who I was. The complete identity has altered. I'm an extremely unhappy person in a relationship if I have moved away from my core identity. And here is the last part. Marry what you see, not what you hope to see. Marry the present, not the potential. So that brings me to the end of my session. I just want to kind of mention a couple of things. If somebody is seriously interested in getting to understand marriage counseling and all, we have a course in the month of June. Every year we have a course in the month of June. Many people from Sneha Counseling also have done it. This is from the June for 12 weeks. It's an online thing. 12 sessions will be there, assignment based. So anybody interested, you can contact Lakshmi or anybody in Sneha. They'll be directing you. This is my contact. If anybody wants to have anything, need some information, this is my contact and this is my website. Lots of articles on my website with relationship issues. So you can go and check that out. Yes, Anuja.
Yes, there are just two questions for which there may not be conclusive answers, but youngsters, as you started with, why should we get married? Is one question. And the second one is maybe not many, but I've known of cases where people have lived for 5 years together and broken up 2 years after they've gotten married. So, I mean, then what? I know there are individual differences and individual causes, but I'd like to hear it from you for these two questions.
Yeah, basically, when person asks, why should I get married? I clearly do not have an answer for that. For me, they should be providing that answer. Right? I cannot provide you an answer for why you should get married. I will not even tell somebody who comes and says, should I get married or not? If somebody says, should I get married or not? I say, you tell me why you want to get married. What's the reason you want to get married? You want to get married for companionship? You want to get married for having a regular sexual partner? You want to get married for, person to go around with, live around with because you like them? Fine, go ahead with that. But if you do not have an answer of why you want to get married, I'm not going to provide you an answer as a counselor why you want to get married. Because I don't know what you want.
Right.
So you define what is the marriage going to fulfill for you. That makes sense. And when you talk of people having lived in a 5-year relationship and then getting married and broken off, believe me, living in a relationship is also one stage. The moment you get married, your expectations zoom. Right? Until you're still living in the marriage, you're still in a living relationship, there's this hope that you will get married, that you might have something. But the moment somebody gets married, expectations just go 10x. Right? Expectation is the highest with your spouse. You can live with lower expectations with everybody around. But your husband or wife doesn't feel those expectations. You have got Mahabharata coming up now on your screen next. Right? That is how it is. You have got the highest expectation with your boyfriend or a girlfriend. You got the highest expectation with your fiancé. You got the highest expectations in a marriage. The moment you are married, the expectation is that my husband should be doing all this. My wife should be doing all this. Somebody else doesn't do all this, I don't care. Right? Your husband or wife, your expectations are 10x. So that's where it starts fraying if your expectations are too much. Yes, Seema.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, Sri. So, unfortunately, many people do not come for pre-marriage counseling. That is the sad reality. I wish people did more and more. Many a time, like you were talking about non-negotiables. So at 25, 26, they think they know what are the non-negotiables, right? I don't want a person who smokes, drinks. I want a person who is based out of Bangalore. I want a person who lives with my parents. So those are such, it is such a time-bound non-negotiable. So I know of this family who insisted and they let go of many prospective brides because of that. And now they are in a miserable situation because they've got married and they're not able to get along. So all those things of not living, living in Bangalore, living in a joint family, all those non-negotiables are absolutely insignificant today. It's become more a liability than this thing. So that's the sad part. I wish more people come to professionals to understand what are those non-negotiables also.
Yeah.
So that's my point here.
No, you're so right. When we say non-negotiables, people talk of non-negotiables about preferences, which is stupid. I mean, you like non-veg, I don't like non-veg. That's not non-negotiable. It's a negotiable thing, right? We can say, okay, you don't like non-veg, we will not cook at home, but you can go eat outside. It doesn't make any difference. We can work out on the non-negotiables about preferences. People miss preferences to be non-negotiables, which is so wrong. To me, the non-negotiables are the bigger thing, right? It's not the kaun banega karoti answers to questions. Right?
Yeah,
Those are
true.
the bigger things. That
They
near the
start drinking, smoking much later, having non-veg much later after getting married in their 30s,
so what
40s.
will
So
you
that's
do if the
also
person
possible.
if the person starts smoking after the marriage, what are you going to do? Are you going to dump him? Oh, you started smoking. I don't want to get the marriage. I don't want the marriage anymore. Right? It's not going to be. Those are our preferences now, which yes, somebody has, somebody doesn't have. Right? It makes no difference to anybody. Many of these preferences change over our own lifetime. Right? We have seen that, oh, once upon a time I used to like to eat those kind of food. Nowadays I don't like it. Have I changed? Of course I have changed. All of us keep changing. But those are insignificant changes now, which doesn't affect others. So whether you kind of eat non-veg or not eat non-veg doesn't affect others. So don't think of those things as non-negotiable. Those things are ridiculously simple to solve. Pratima?
Purely from a medical point of view, Sridhar, although we have spoken a lot about the emotional, the psychological, and the thought, the perceptions here, many times they don't go in with if there is a family history of, say, something like a thalassemia, it's a good thing to get both the sides tested for something we call as traits. Because in case they're thinking of having children, then they need to be sure what they are getting into. So sometimes instead of matching jatakas, it may be a good thing to even check their genetic thing. I'm just saying this, that this is also something that we need to consider.
No, that is so understandable because I had a couple who came to me and their child turned out to be neurodivergent child. Right? And the husband was, oh, this child has become neurodivergent. No, I got him assessed and all that. And then he finds that in his wife said there are 3 neurodivergent children. And he was so angry, that she never told me that her sister has this kind of a child or that kind of a child. She is responsible for what happened. If I knew about this, why would I have children? I might have still married her, but I would not have brought a kid into this life. She is so cruel to me. It went on to that extent, that today the husband and wife don't even talk to each other. Because he blames her for it and she says, I did not hide it, in any way, but I might not have told you about it. Whether you did not disclose the truth or whether you lied, finally it comes down to now, how do I trust you or not trust you? Right? We can have a lot of things now. Where do you split the hairs now between not telling the truth and lying? Right? That's a different argument altogether. But this is exactly what you said. I would prefer that, get your DNA profile checked. Tomorrow maybe it will come down to that, saying, can you have kids, not have kids? Is there a history of mental issues in your child? Is there a history of, like you said, thalassemia or Down syndrome children? If you have got everything, let's work on those things. I feel like, please do all that before you have kids. Test yourself before you have kids. You don't want to bring a kid and kind of suffer at the end of it failing, blaming each other, and your life is upturned when you have a neurodivergent child. Right? For all the sympathy, empathy we have for neurodivergent children and their parents, we know how much of struggle they go through. It's more than normal, right? Yeah, Rosina?
No questions, Sridhar. Just want to thank you. Yesterday, I had a tiff with my husband. So I'm married since 34 years, 34 years, more than 3 decades. And a lot of things that I've understood, even today, I'm like learning. And I think I found a answered somewhere in all the explanations that you gave. So I feel this is such an important session, not just for pre-marriage or post-marriage, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line also. There's so much insight that you have given. Thank you so much. And thank you to Sneha Society.
Thank you.
That's why right in the beginning I said, we're talking of premarital counseling. But it's not just premarital counseling, it applies to all marriages. And I'm glad Rosina said she's married for 34 years. And today it kind of some insight into how things can be more harmonious or accepting of each other. So, thanks for the questions.
So,
Yeah,
so,
go ahead, go ahead.
so may I?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Sir,
Rosina.
I just wanted this. Yeah, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, sir, I just wanted this. When you said that you are comfortable with the clumsy part and you're okay with the table and everything, if any other family member feels it that this has to be clean, should it be allowed or not? Because I have to take this an example of my daughter also, who's a teenager, who says I like clumsy. I'm okay with the clumsy part. So as a homemaker, if I clean, will it be wrong or should I have to just leave it?
You have to
Okay,
leave
it's
it
the
to them.
person's
I
choice to
would say
be
that no.
clumsy.
Yeah, I would say that please leave it to them. If they are comfortable working in a mess, that is how their
Mm,
mind works. They know everything that is there in that mess. Right? You ask
okay,
them, where is this? I can find where it is. No, you might not be, you arrange everything, they'll not be able to find what they want.
okay.
Right? This is too orderly. No, I can't find what I want. So
Mm-hmm.
don't get into the thing of not trying to fix because you have this notion that everything has to be in its place. Your daughter
Okay.
doesn't have that notion that everything has to be in its place. I need to find, I'll work it out. I'll figure out what I want. I'm not asking you for help, no? I mean, I'm
Mm,
sure many children will come and tell you that also, no? ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನನ್ನು ಬಂದು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಹುಡುಕೊಡು ಅಂತ I'll ಹುಡುಕೋತೀನಿ
yeah.
ನಾನು. Right? So
Okay.
leave them alone. No, let them figure out what they want. Why are we kind of making everybody should be time conscious? Everybody should be organized. Everybody should be goal oriented. Everybody should be aesthetically inclined. Many people
Yeah.
are not aesthetically inclined. Many people can't know the difference between two colors. Oh, this is brown. No, it's not brown.
Yeah.
This is yellow. Oh, this is yellow. This is who we are. Some people are
Okay.
color blind. Some people do not have that. Please love to
Mm,
accept people for who they are and learn to work out between you and them. That's
okay.
it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we come to the end of the session and also the time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Lakshmi, it's all yours.
Yeah. I hand it over to Reshma. She will take up the next part.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes. Please go on.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. It was an excellent session. We just have a few more questions before we wind up. There was this one person who's asked, how can a couple navigate questions around physical relationship without the fear of being judged?
Yeah, this is an important area. When we talk of physical relationship, I know of many couples who come to me, with one person being dissatisfied. Like I said, they have not talked it out before. Now they got married. This person thinks I've got to be like this sexually. The other person doesn't. So we can't understand now what can we do at which level both of us are comfortable. Right? Or I can take a little bit of discomfort. Believe me, all of us can take a little bit of discomfort in relationships. And that is inevitable. Every relationship, we will have to take some amount of discomfort. Some amount of compromise is a part of every relationship. But as long as I'm not compromising in a way that hurts me very badly, can I do that? Can I talk to her and say, no, can we do this? Or can we go to a professional now who can help us to kind of sort it out? Sometimes the couple themselves will not be able to sort it out. It could be a physical thing. It could be a medical issue that's not been attended to. So can we at least discuss that and direct them to somebody who is an expert in sex medicines, to kind of go and talk to them. He or she will be able to help you with this.
Okay. So there was another question who says, how can someone planning to get married can understand the childhood traumas of other person?
This is extremely complex. That's why I did not address this, although I saw the question in the list that has been sent to me. So childhood traumas are something, like let us say somebody has been sexually abused, somebody has been physically abused as a child. It always makes it very tough for that marriage in any case, right? If somebody comes from a, let us say, sexually abused background and they want to walk into a marriage, that's not going to be an easy marriage to handle. And if you are somebody who's really strong, who can still survive because you love that other person for who they are, then you can work these things out. And believe me, once you can work these things out, that marriage is going to be a brilliant one. But until you go there, until you help them to deal with the trauma part externally outside the marriage, you are not somebody who's an expert. right? You need to put them onto somebody who can help them to deal with the trauma part. But if you are somebody who is patient, who is loving, who is still caring, this marriage can be really wonderful, but it will take a long time for that to happen. So be ready with the patience and a long-term program.
So what about suppose in arranged marriages, which are very prevalent even for today, there is a time constraint. They will give the couple, probably the families do allow the couple to get to know each other, but it may be a very limited time. How do they judge a person? Because the time is quite
time is quite limited. So there, if you do not have the option of observing that other person, like I said, firstly, if you're in a relationship, best is to observe them. That's what gives you more than what they're speaking, right? Speaking can be anything. Speaking can be just to kind of make you, oh, I'm a very kind person, I'm this and that. People are always telling all the good things about themselves when they're trying to woo you. So if you can observe them actually doing it, it will be great. But if you do not have that privilege or the liberty of observing them and you've got a short time, then that's why I have given you a set of questions that can be asked. Right? If you can ask that questions and ask them to give examples and work around that, not make it like an interrogation. Hey, when was the time you had the most stress in your life? How did you handle that? That gives me a clue how this person handles stress. So I've given a set of questions, I hope that will be helpful to them.
That is about all the questions. Yes. Thank you for an excellent session. It was an eye-opener for all of us. Very structured as usual and very clear in what is to be expected and how to deal with it, and also the tips to be prepared. Thank you very much, sir. Excellent and enriching session for all of us. I can speak on behalf of everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I just want to add to many of you have requested for a recording, so we will put it on our YouTube channel. I will be sharing it with Sridhar as well. Offhand, I'm a little handicapped to get the actual YouTube address. I'll identify that and I'll share it with on the group. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with me. I enjoyed every moment of being with you people and taking
Yeah.
this.
Thank you, sir. We always look forward to your sessions. Thank you very much. Thanks to all. I made a lot of questions, a lot of very interesting questions, and which added to the